Welcome, welcome.
Hold on, you starting already? Or?
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry for going back and forth with you.
It's okay. I went back and forth with you also.
Anyway, welcome to the show.
Oh, what an honor to be here. What a schus.
So, where did you grow up?
How many years do we know each other? We know each other a lot of years in Kensington, right?
Yeah.
Long time.
Where did you grow up from? Where did you grow up?
Who said I grew up already? Yeah, I grew up in Crown Heights originally.
Okay.
For the first 16 years of my life. Then lived in Borough Park for a while, then in Flatbush and Eretz Yisrael, and I've been in Kensington the last, I don't want to say how many long, but a lot of years I've been in Kensington, over 30 years.
Wow. Okay. So let's jump right in. You've held many different positions in many different organizations until the Agudah.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do for all those different organizations?
I mean, really, I looked at every single step as a growth. I learned each thing I did was a growth for the next one. I started out originally. I've been in community service or cloud work for all the years since I left Koil. I started out working for a couple of yeshivas. Then I worked for for a number of years. I helped Moisters work with fundraising through telemarketing. I had a little telemarketing firm. Then I worked in government for a little while. Each really one was a step to the next. But finally, I'm over here to Charlotte for the last 6 years.
But you did do some stuff for the Bar Park JCC. What did you do there?
Yes, I do. Well, I was director. I ran the Bar Park JCC for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very proud at that time. When I came in, it was really for a lot of reasons. It had almost fallen apart. Basically, it had fallen apart.
Oh wow.
And, Baruch Hashem picked it up, and we really got it to a certain level. And my successor took it to the next level. But yes, we got it to a certain level over those 5 years. We really try to put it back on the map again.
Okay. So what do you like? You're in the Agudah now. What do you do for them exactly?
Oh, I do a lot of things. Well, really, what is called New York Government Relations, which is very simple.
Okay.
It's developing relationships, working with different levels of government to advocate on behalf, very simple, of the Orthodox community. That's really what it comes down to. Mostly in Albany, because most of our action is really in state government. That's where most of the things that are pertinent to us are state government. I spend a lot of time on it. But city, New York City, other local governments, we try to cover around the state.
Mm-hmm. So a couple of years ago, we had COVID. What was your involvement with the Agudah with COVID and the education and the schools and stuff like that?
Oh, well, did a lot of things. First of all, when COVID hit, obviously we just don't know how to do anything, and people.
Right.
First, the worst thing, never. How many people lost their lives? So sad. How many people were sick. Besides that, people lost jobs and people were confused. One of the first things we did, we set up a special hotline, a dedicated email and a phone number. People call, just give advice. There were all these new programs, the PPP programs and all the loan programs. And boy, you reminded me of a time. And I sat in my kitchen in my house because we weren't in the office, and we were just fielding. I thought I worked hard. I was working literally till midnight every night, just from straight in the morning, just fielding inquiries from people and doing research, because it was all new stuff. It was stuff we hadn't done before, learning about all the different programs, how to respond to people. That was the initial thing, the first couple of months of COVID. That was just those first 2 or 3 months, helping people. People were calling about unemployment. I remember getting so many questions about unemployment benefits, and there was a backlog because they weren't, obviously the state didn't have nearly enough people to cover, because they didn't expect that. They expect that kind of influx of unemployment claims. So we're dealing a lot with that. We're dealing with people how to access the different programs, the PPP programs, other programs to help people, help businesses to get on their feet. Remember, everyone stopped, everything shut down for those few weeks. Right. It was terrible. And then we worked obviously with schools, and we worked to help get back together We worked a lot with yeshivas to help them. And Baruch Hashem, I'm proud to say that our yeshivas opened up a year before the public schools opened up. We were open up.
Right. Wow.
Time. And then you say, we opened up. Remember, COVID came in March of 2020. By that September, almost every school was open. They took precautions. They did social distancing, and they had barriers, and they made sure hands were washed and all the different precautions. But Baruch Hashem, there were no major outbreaks. Nothing happened that was predicted. There were cases here and there, but there were no major outbreaks in yeshivas. Unfortunately, that first summer, camps were not allowed to open, sleepaway camps, and we actually sued the state then because it was a terrible thing. We had a plan in place to get the camps open, a safety plan in place, and they wouldn't listen to us, and it was very, very difficult for kids.
Right.
That summer, not being able to go to camp that summer, that was a very, very hard situation. But Baruch Hashem, by September, we got schools opened up, we got yeshivas opened up, and then we went to court. We fought, but remember the red zones and the orange zones and the yellow zones.
Yeah.
And for some reason, all the from areas were in red zones, were in lockdown areas, and we went to court, and we won the Supreme Court. Agudath Israel took the case straight to the Supreme Court, then we won to not allow those red zones, which were discriminated clearly against the from Orthodox community during Sukkot. There was a time Chalamot Sukkot that year. I remember just being when the former governor Cuomo announced the red zones. It was on Chalamot Sukkot, and we were sitting all day dealing with that, then going to court. So that simple story was a very challenging one also, the whole year. So you would bring back memories.
Wow. But was it very hard to get the yeshivas opened up, like from the government side, meaning to let them have the yeshivas open up?
It was in the beginning. It was difficult. I must say there were people, the Zechron L'Roch of Yanki Maya, who's no longer with us, was one of the biggest tzaddikim was a Zechron L'Roch. He had a big hand. In fact, Agudath Silber, as you know, Yanki Maya did a lot of great things in his short lifetime. Agudath Silber, he had written that he got the yeshivas open. He looked at it as his greatest accomplishment, helping the yeshivas open during COVID. So he was a big part of it. Agudath Israel played a part. And yes, we had to work with them, but eventually we convinced them that we took safety measures. We had safety measures in place, and like I said, we did the right thing because public schools were closed for a whole full year afterwards, and yeshivas open. Learned, and there were no major outbreaks. I was not aware of any major outbreaks that there were in yeshivas that first year. Schools opened up.
What you brought up Yanki Meyer, Rabbi Yanki Meyer. That's how. What was your relationship with Rabbi Yanki Meyer, and when you worked for Miss Askin?
I had a very good relationship with him. We had a wonderful relationship. I worked for a short time for Miss Askin. I helped out certain things over there. Yeah, we had Baruch Hashem. We did. He was the go-to person on a lot of things. He needed something. He was the person.
Right. What did you do for Miss Askin officially?
I did the same idea: government relations, community relations.
Same thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
What was Rabbi Silber's relationship with Rabbi Booth?
Booth, he was such a part of our life. Rabbi Booth, he was in the shul 26 years. I say letters. He was larger than life. He was such a tremendous figure in the community. He was there to ask, not to ask our shalas and halacha, but to ask everything, to speak to them. He was involved in all aspects. Rabbi Booth was such an asset. We were very close. We learned together for many, many years. I'll tell you a story about Booth. In 1997, I tell a story all the time. We have an 8 o'clock minyan in the shul every morning. I've been davening that minyan now. Now it's 7:45, but for years I've davened every morning in that minyan. So in 1997, there was a Daf Yomi was starting a new cycle. I made a big scene then. A new cycle started. He said, "Let's start a Daf Yomi shir at 7 o'clock. We'll have daven 8 o'clock." I said, "Fine." I said, "Rabbi, I'm all in. Do me a favor. I need to know there are 15 people committed to come to daven. You know what it's like. You don't want to wait to be relying on 10 people exactly. Sometimes one person. You want 15 people to be committed. Say yes, I plan on coming. So you can feel comfortable that there'll be a minyan every day." He said, "No, don't worry. We'll have." And he did not. And now, how many years? It's 26 years. We've never missed a minyan. Every year we had the minyans going. You've been in that minyan.
Wow.
On every year. And that was great. pushed it out, and for years we learned together. And also there are times when he wasn't well that I discussed giving the share in his place. So we went through I think we went through 2 cycles of Daf Yomi together. We went through, we went through, so we were very close. It's now come. I'm thinking now Shavuos, every Shavuos coming up, we will always learn together on Shavuos. The first half of the night we learned. Booth and I learned together, and we were, he would, we were very. It was. We miss him. He's tremendously missed.
It's how many years is it now? It's 4 years. It's gonna be 4 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be this summer. Be 4 years. Chai I think it's 70. It's 4 years, right before COVID. Shortly before, a few months before COVID, 2019. So summer will be 4 years. Yeah.
Wow. Rabbi Silber has a relationship with Rabbi Simcha Scholar. What's that relationship?
I'm not a close. We know each other. I'm very fond of what he does.
Right.
I'm very, I'm a big fan of Chai Lifeline. As you know, I personally benefited from Chai Lifeline at one point. So yeah, I mean, we know each other. I don't want to say, I can't say we're close.
Right.
We certainly know each other. I mean, I respect him. I hope he respects me as well. But yes, we have certainly a very respectful relationship.
Were you close to Reb David? Is that so?
Unfortunately, no. I just we spoke. We knew, but I can't say I was close to him. I can't say that. I can't say. Reb Bluth was the one that would go to Reb David. Right. I spoke to him a few times. I was there, but no, I don't. It's one of the regrets of my life. I was close to plenty of other Gedolim, but I wasn't there. I wasn't fortunate to be close to Reb David.
Wow. So, any big things coming up in the Agudah now that you can share?
I mean, the biggest thing now really is the question of chinuch, of education.
Right.
I speak a lot in schools. I go to schools a lot.
Okay.
One of the things I do in schools is I do voter registrations. I speak to the senior class, both yeshivas and Beis Yaakovs. I speak to them at the importance of why it's important to vote, of why Shtat Manas is important, what we do. But I talk about chinuch in schools. I said, look, I said, we all learn things in schools, and everyone learn things. We learn, of course, we learn the Kodesh, whether it's, the boys' schools or the girls' schools, and we learn English. They learn whether it's math or science or social studies. Yeah, it's everything's done where they learn everything. But at the end, school, any subject. I took trigonometry in high school. I don't know trigonometry. I guarantee I know nothing. I mean, I took it. That's the way they gave it in geometry, whatever it was. So whatever subjects you learn, it's a means to an end. It's a way to get to where you have to go. The purpose of a school, in my opinion, I've heard people who are professional educators, mechanchim, agree with me. The purpose of a school is to prepare a student to be successful in life. Yes, and part of it, you have to learn how to read, how to write, and learn basic math. I get it. Every school has their own curriculum that they decide. Whether they have their own manalim, whether they have a chinuch or the Rosh Yeshivas, they decide how they want to do it. But ultimately, what they learn in school is a means to an end. The purpose of a school, and I say, I speak in girls because I say, you girls are graduating, you're in 12th grade. Tell me something. How many of you feel that your school prepared you for life? And they almost all raised their hand because they did.
Wow.
And if you look at it, look at our from communities. Look at everywhere. Borough Park, Flatbush, Muncie, Lakewood, everywhere, right? We are prepared, we are Williamsburg, Crown Heights, everything. We are prepared for life. By and large, we have successful, happy, thriving communities, almost no crime, almost no drug use. We're prepared for life. And Baruch Hashem, people are happy. Are we perfect? No, we're not perfect. And look at the public schools. Just last week, Mayor Adams gave a speech a couple of weeks ago. He said, 65%. I can't even read. Are they successful? No, not like we are. Do we want to be? They should be like us. Now we should be like them. They want to make us so the government's going to come in and tell us how to run our yeshivas, how to run our schools. We have Manal, we have Rosh Yeshivas, we have Gedolim, but tell us how to do. And that is really the biggest battle that we've been battling all these years, and it's still ongoing. The fight for chinuch, for purity, for Taras HaKodesh, for the chinuch, the way we've been giving all these years. And look, we know that the communities had tremendous growth since after World War II in the last 75, 80 years, and it's only due to the yeshiva system. I went to yeshiva, you went to yeshiva, you know, and we know what it's like. We know what we get from yeshiva. That would prepares us for life.
Right, but what do you think about the whole educational issue that the government is trying to get the yeshiva system to do, like, to change?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not
Right.
we're pushing, fighting that our yeshiva should have control of the government shouldn't have control of the chinuch of our yeshiva. It's up to us, the manalim, the Rosh Yeshivas, about the chinuch, to decide how yeshivas, and the proof is in the pudding. We do a great job. Yeshivas do a great job. Look at our, look at that, look at
Right.
we are prepared for life.
Right. But do you see that that the government is gonna end up changing it to what they want, or that from society is gonna win out?
It's hard to say. You know, we believe there's Rabbi Shalom. We have to do, and then with the
Right.
Rabbi Shalom will take care of us. And yes, no yeshiva is gonna fundamentally change, because yeshivas are there longer than anything else, and they're not going to change what they do. So ultimately, how it ends up, I can't say. I don't know how it's going to end up, but you know, we're doing our status. We're doing the Rabbi Shalom's work, and you know, the Rabbi Shalom at the end will be the for Klal Yisrael as he's been all these years. We know that ultimately Klal Yisrael will prevail, and what even how will come out the end, I can't say. I don't know,
Right.
but we will.
It's crazy. It's not normal that they're trying to change the whole English department for.
This is the biggest challenge, probably certainly in the last you know, probably 70, 80 years. The biggest challenge facing Klal Yisrael, maybe even in who knows, in you know, we finally have a Medina of Chesed. Baruch Hashem, America is a place where we've been free to practice, you know, to have Yiddishkeit, you know, and then to have them come in. This is such a gzeira that this is something that we almost never dealt with before. This is like one of the
Right.
challenging issues facing us as a tzibur.
Right. It's pretty crazy. The getting back to Kensington and the shul, what does Rabbi Silber see that the shul is going forward? How is it gonna move forward with the new Rav? And is it growing? Is it not growing? What is it?
And we know we have a wonderful Rav, you know,
Right.
Abba is, in fact, Rabbi Bluth really sort of chose it because, as you know,
Okay.
Rabbi Bluth, at the end of his life, when he wasn't always so well, he couldn't give the drush. He asked Rabbi Adler to give the drush in his place. So he sort of, we know that he looked at
Right.
Rabbi Adler. So we were so lucky we had him living in the neighborhood and being there, and we didn't have to look out. So we had some right there to take his place. The shul is certainly growing. You look at the membership list, we get more every year. Look, it's very challenging. Brooklyn, a lot of people can't afford to be in Brooklyn. That's the way it is.
Right.
Brooklyn it's expensive, and we wish to be more growth, people moving in. But the shul is very thriving, and the shul Baruch Hashem it's a Avasachem is a great name for the shul because it's really brotherly love. It's a tremendous in the shul, and people get along. It's a wonderful kahil to be part of.
And you've been living in Kensington since after you got married, or when did you move to Kensington?
I moved to Kensington in 1986.
Wow.
I lived there sort of when I got married. I lived there sort of for a few years. Then I came back and I lived. You know, then I was learning in Yeshiva Yeruchem Silber, so I wanted to be still there. I still have there. I was funding. I wanted to be near the yeshiva. That's why I chose Kensington, and I don't regret it. You know, to be near the yeshiva then. So,
and your kid,
Nice year for a few years in the back of Tarvadas. Then we moved to East Fifth. I've been to East Fifth ever since. That's since over 30 years. And
wow. And your kids all live. Where do they all live? Your kids?
So only one is in Brooklyn. My daughter lives in Brooklyn, and the rest in Muncie and in Lakewood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. How is you're related somehow to Mendel? How are you related to Mendel?
No, my wife's a Mendel. My shver was Mendel. My wife's family's Mendel. Yeah, sure. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So how can we find out more about the Agudah and what the Agudah does and
I'll
stuff
tell
like
you a
that?
nice story that happened this week. Something we do
Okay.
that people don't even realize.
Yeah.
It's just happened this week. So people, and I found this out myself. Let's say the New York City has jobs. They get out. People has jobs. So someone there's,
Okay.
I guess there's must be an online portal. You apply for a job, and you upload your resume, application, whatever it is, and then they call you to have these job fairs that you come
Right.
down and you meet people from different agencies, and you get an interview on the spot. So there's a person who was a computer specialist and applied like a year ago, and finally a
Okay.
year later he got called to come down for this job fair and meet agencies. When was he called to come down? First day of Shavuos, Friday,
Wow.
May 26th, first day of
Wow.
Shavuos.
Okay.
And he said, if you don't come, he loses it. He loses his
Right.
spot. He's waiting a year and there's a spot. That's it. You're done. You lose your chance if you don't come down. There's a chance to come
Right.
down and get your interview. So he came to us, and Baruch Hashem have good relationships. I went to first Councilman Kalman Yeager and to the mayor's office, to Joel Eisdorfer, and also to Moshe Davis, who was a Kensington from Kensington, who now works for Mayor Adams, and
Okay.
others, and Fred Kreisman and others. And we brought it to their attention, Menashe Shapiro, and lo and behold, they got canceled. They pushed it off because I'm sure there were many other people that would have lost an opportunity to get city jobs because it was on Shavuos. So that's
Right.
things like that. Just the name that happened this week.
Wow.
We mentioned that. We fight now. We push to get money for yeshivas. This year we had
Right.
the budget was just done last month. Is
Right.
the state budget. So there's a program called mandated services. Most people don't know what it
Okay.
is, but
What is it?
so it's a program that every yeshiva gets money. It's the largest source of funding for yeshivas. Basically,
Okay.
yeshivas have to do certain things, whether it's taking attendance and testing that the state says they have to do. So the deal was, okay, state has to pay them, reimburse them for the cost of these called mandates.
Right.
This year in the budget, so the original language in the budget said, we'll pay you only what's allocated in the budget. In other words, yeshivas make claims. They put in claims and they get reimbursed.
Right.
There's not enough money in the budget, you'll be stuck, you'll be out the money. Well, only what's in the budget.
Okay.
So we fought that language. We fought hard. And Baruch Hashem, the language came out. And we made sure the yeshivas were paid in full, because that could have, had that language stayed in, it could have really killed the entire program.
Wow.
Then we worked this year on getting, we worked with other groups. We got many yeshivas, we got not all of them will get an increase in free lunches for yeshivas. So we're doing a lot of work in bringing, it's never enough. And we wish there would really be a program like a voucher program or a scholarship, and the government should really fund, at least the secular part, but whatever we can, we try to help that yeshiva should have resources and funding from Albany and from Washington. So it's a big part of what I do.
Wow. So the yeshivas are looking to get funding from the government for like the lunch programs and stuff like that.
Lunch programs, security funding, another thing, security funding, various things like that.
What's going on with the security issue with like the gun violence and stuff like that?
I mean, I don't want to get involved in gun violence thing. It's a complicated issue, but security. But listen, anti-Semitism is a terrible problem. It's getting worse and worse. We have a lot of more hate crimes are Jews than anybody else. More anti-Semitic incidents. There's been, meetings I've been to fight anti-Semitism, and they all mean well. It is look. There's another thing. First of all, there's a few things. Obviously, we need the police to really crack down hard, and anyone who's commits a hate crime should really get serious time and pay for it. We also need education. People have to understand that education is an important part, and to come together, understand what we're all about. One of the things we do, I go to Albany. I have my Yom all the time, and I believe that my job is to make Kiddush Hashem, because they don't mean personally, and not too many people there with yarmulkes. I'm one of the few people there, and I know that people look at me. That I know on the one hand, of course, from people the most visibly because we look Jewish. That's why we're the victims of so many anti-Semitic. We look Jewish, but yet at the same time we have to know that we're visibly Jewish. We have to make sure that people shouldn't think any worse of us, and it's important for anyone publicly, if you're visibly Orthodox Jew, you wear a yarmulke and you go out there, and that you have to give a right impression. I try my best. I really try it, even if I don't. And it's important that a lot of people I don't agree with, but I try to be respectful with everybody. The way you get results, you talk with them, being respectful, even if you don't agree with them. And you can always find certain things you could agree on, but you have to really try to work with people.
And the funding for the security for the yeshivas are going through the Agudah or through?
No, it goes through the state, but Agudah is the one that pushes for that. Agudah and other groups also are the ones that help push for it. No, it comes from the government. They apply for it, but it doesn't. These things just don't happen. You have to work on it. You have to,
Right. How long does something like that take to work on and to get funding for it?
It started out when I came to the Agudah. It had just gone, I think, from 5 million to 15 million or 50 million. Now we're up to 45 million in one of the security programs. So, you take time and there's a need for it. And, there's some things get done overnight. Some things take many years to work on. There's no, there are many things legislative that can work on years and years. And we were just last week in Albany, actually a group of people with special needs went up there, and there's certain issues that we're going to work on now. It may take time, but I said we don't give up. Things, we wish things happen overnight, but things don't. Sometimes things move slowly, but you got to stay on it, be persistent, push on it, and hopefully you have aslach at the end.
What was the thing that you took for special needs up to Albany?
Yeah, a number of things around. For example, I'll give you an example that something we pushed on, which sometimes doesn't make any sense. So every agency, every worker has to be fingerprinted for a background check.
Right. Okay.
Now, what happens is every agency has to get the fingerprinted again. So we said, what? And sometimes it takes time because somebody needs to hire somebody, and it takes a week or so. They have to make an appointment, get the results back. There's a central database. Why don't you find a way to have to do a central database? Everyone should share it. They give it the name of the person, whatever social security number, whatever ID you have to give it, and get back a background check. It's okay. The fingerprints there. They have the information. Why do it every time? Go through. It's just, sometimes you need common sense. That was one example of things we worked on. Other things was medications. Other things we try to push for. So it's a slow go, and but we have to push for it, and you keep working at it. Eventually, you're successful.
Right. When the government decided to shut down the shuls, did the Agudah have any arguments with that? And what was
I
that?
can say this now. I can say this now because it's 3 years later. One day, B'Chalamoid Sukkos, Governor Cuomo, and there was another outbreak. Chalamoid Sukkos. There was and he had a phone call with Jewish leaders. People are going to run the phone, and he said, "You have the last some historic coming up. Try to keep the shuls at 50% capacity. 50% was still okay. You could try to work it out. You have shifts. It was something that was doable. 50% was doable." And he tried to, and 3 hours later, literally 3-4 hours, the same day at a press conference that we're announcing red zones with only 10 people, and not in a room, in an entire building. Only 10 people were allowed. You can't have barely for a million, 10 people. And when this comes, imagine simple sorry, you can only have 10 people at a time in the building.
So it's like he literally changed his mind within a couple of hours.
I don't think he changed his mind. I think he knew all along. He just,
So how did that get fixed?
We went to court.
Yeah.
We went to the Supreme Court. Look, people do what they have to do. I don't tell them to break the law, and shuls do what they have to do, and we just told them what the law is, and every shul had to do what they wanted to do. But eventually, we did go to the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court, and they came down saying that the red zones were illegal, they were arbitrary, and it was a violation of religious freedom. You have people in a liquor store, but you can't have people in a shul or a gym or like that. It was discrimination against religion.
Right. It was also not only shuls, it was houses of worship also,
Right.
right?
All house of worship, right, which includes a
Yeah.
shul, house of worship.
Right.
Correct.
And wow, it's pretty insane. Wow. And Mayor Adams is are you not Mayor Adams, Governor Hochul
Yes.
has anything to do with like all of this issues nowadays, or it's behind her?
I mean, COVID's pretty much it's pretty much behind us. So since she took
Right.
over, it's basically behind us. So there's not really a lot of issues around COVID. But we have a good relationship with Governor Holker. We work well with her administration, and yeah, listen, we work well with them. She's been a friend to us. She's been good to us in a lot of ways, and we work well together. As we do with Mayor Adams. Like I said, Mayor Adams have a very good relationship. He has a number of firm people working as an administration, at least 3 or 4 working there in the high levels, and we never had that before. So many firm people, and I mean high levels. He had Commissioner Fred Kreisman, the commissioner. He's a firm person. Menashe Shapiro was deputy chief of staff, a firm person. Joel Eisdorfer, senior advisor to the mayor, is a firm person. Moshe Davis, so at least 4 that I'm aware of on the high levels from people. So we have access to who to talk to.
Right.
As well as the previous mayor with Mayor de Blasio when he was mayor. Mayor de Blasio, remember, I knew I worked for him at one point.
Right.
He represented our neighborhood. He was our councilman. And, I worked for him then, and we stayed close over the years. Even when he was mayor, we stayed close. So, yeah, you have to, it's important to develop relationships and work with people in government, because that's where you get, so we have to go to when you have issues. You have to,
What did you do for Mayor de Blasio?
I worked basically with him. I worked with the Jewish community in the Borough Park, Kensington, when he was there. All the issues that came up.
You were part of his campaign, or you were
campaign and staff both? First his campaign, and then when he first ran for office in 2001, then I was on the staff for 3 years. His first 3 years in the city council, I was on the staff.
And was it hard or easy to work with him?
I mean, you work hard. Listen, everyone has. You have to work hard to get things done. Nothing comes easy in this world, Listen,
right.
You want things done, you have to work hard.
Right.
So we put in work, and I helped him get certain funding for places, and I had people had an address to come to. We helped a lot of people then. In fact, I remember a story. One year on Shavuos, there was a staff meeting, and at that meeting, we decided where to allocate funds. I knew it was important for me to be there because I wanted to make sure that the Jewish organizations got funding. So I asked him about Blue, if I can go. He says, "Yeah, I could walk over." It was on the down to Park, so it was walking distance. I even brought a cheesecake for them. But I got requested to go because it was important. I sat there. I didn't have to drive. Obviously, it was like able to walk the blocks to down to the Parkway. I went Yontif in the afternoon. I sat there by the meeting. I was able to make sure that those groups got the funding they deserved.
Wow. And when he saw you there on Shavuos, he was shocked, or he knew that you were going to come?
Honestly, I don't remember, but they were happy with the cheesecake. They all ate it up.
Wow.
Yeah, that part I remember. It's, quite a few years ago, but yeah, it was the compliment.
You also did something for the Senate, or you ran a campaign for the Senate for someone.
State Senate.
Yeah.
Dan Savino. That was a long time ago. I helped to get elected to state Senate. And she just left. She just retired. She actually works for the city now. She was in the state Senate about 15, 16 years. More, 18 years actually. Senator Dan Savino. Yeah, I helped in that campaign. Yeah, I did.
You held a lot of high position jobs. How does that feel for you to be part of all that high ranking jobs?
You look at it as an opportunity to be of assistance, to help people out, and to further, that's you look at it. So it's not for me. It's not about me. It's about making a
Right.
difference. It's about being there for helping out at whatever position. The Baruch Hashem, I've been in positions where I was able to make a difference, hopefully, and help out the klal, help out individuals. Rabbi Sher used to always say, Agudath Israel is about Klal Yisrael and Rabbi Yisrael, which is important. You have to have Klal
Right.
Yisrael, and also individuals come for help. Also, you have to help individuals. So this is done an opportunity over the years to do a lot of that.
And what did your kids like growing up? What did the kids think of their father being so involved in all these high-ranking positions?
Yeah, it was. It was part of being. It was like it was part of being. That's what we were. There was never like, never. No, I never looked at always high position. I got my picture in the paper, but otherwise, no, it was regular.
Right. Your kids didn't have like fanfare and stuff like that.
Say that again.
Your kids didn't have like the fanfare, like, oh, this
No,
kid's father.
no, absolutely not. So no, they didn't really. They were regular like anybody else. The Baruch Hashem, they're all, they're all married and they're very proud of all. They're all doing very well.
Yeah.
Sure.
How is Zebi doing?
So he's doing great.
Yeah.
He's great. He has a little baby. He has he's a little shmuel he has. Yeah, Baruch Hashem, Zebi's doing fantastic.
Amazing.
Learning stark. He's learning guy. Zebi's mamish and koil. He's a few months ago I met a guy. He says, "Oh, my son's chavrusa." He's a great chavrusa. So yeah.
Wow. He lives in Lakewood, I'm assuming.
Lakewood, yes, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. It's pretty amazing. And how's he feeling these days?
Feeling good, Baruch Hashem.
Yeah.
Hashem, that was yeah. Hashem went through what he went through, and
Right.
that was Messiah. Baruch Hashem, we got through it, and he went there to Israel, and he came back, went to Lakewood, got married, and he's doing wonderful. Baruch Hashem.
Did Rabbi Silber have any shaykhs to Shlomo Zakheim?
Yes, I knew Shlomo Zakheim when we were little kids. I knew Shlomo Zakheim. As a member from Yeshiva Park, I remember Shlomo Zakheim. I can't say I was close to him over the years, but we knew each other. I knew he did unbelievably great things, Shlomo Zakheim. Yes, I remember him as little kids in Yeshiva. He was a couple of grades ahead of me, but yes, I remember Shlomo Zakheim back then, of course.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And I mean, I think you were the one that told my father on Rosh Hashanah that when he was nifter. That Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. The hospital at St. Anselm was the same hospital, so
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty crazy. Wow.
I know you were very close. I know you were very close to him. I know. I remember that.
Yeah, but
he was a chesed machine. He really was. And he loved kids. I know he loved Camp Simcha. He loved all the kids over there. He loved everything about it.
Right.
He was a kid at heart, Shlomo. That's what he was. He was still like.
He was always a kid at heart. He was always a kid at heart, and except he was very betzina. He did everything without fanfare.
That's true. So, and by his wife's a big tzaddikus also. His wife helps a lot of people.
Yeah. You know his wife?
Yes. She's helped a lot of people.
Wow. Yeah, she's also an amazing woman.
Yes. Yeah.
Baruch Hashem. Anyway, I just wanted to.
Together, we spent Shabbos together a couple of years in Puerto Rico. I go every.
Oh yeah.
Every year I go down to usually November. There's a conference called Somos. It's a political conference. I go every year. I'm going the last 5 or 6 years. And Shabbos, we stay at the Chabad. We stay in a hotel. But we all eat at the Chabad over Shabbos. And Rabbi Mendy Zarchi and his wife and Fega Zachman is very close to the. She's very close to the Zarchis, so she's there a lot. So a couple of times we were there, and they have like 40, 50 people eat there at Shabbos in the Chabad house. So
right.
A couple of times we were together there over Shabbos in Puerto Rico. So.
Do you ever go? You ever take the Rebbitzin with you to like these places?
Sometimes, yeah, she comes to
Yeah.
Puerto Rico because it's nice. It's a nice
Right.
version. Now she comes along, and she really enjoys that Shabbos by the. What we're all together. It's like sometimes 40 or 50 people together,
Right.
and it's right. And the Chabad is like a block away from everything here, so it's in the same area. It's all in the same area.
Right.
All the conferences.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
so go to that one.
Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me interview you.
Oh, of course.
It was a real pleasure. Sorry we went back and forth, and
Okay, it was a pleasure for me to be here to join with you.
And you're doing a lot of work for the cloud, and that's really, really amazing, especially for the Agudah, the government, all that stuff. It's
Okay, and by the
really
way, I forgot to tell you, I'm very inspired by your status stuff. I look at your status, and it's very inspirational. The things you put on status.
it's not my stuff. It's not my stuff.
Okay, but you put
thank
it there,
you.
so I give you credit.
Yeah.
You're putting it out there on the status. So.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day,
Okay.
and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.